And we are live. We have a very, very special episode for you guys. SZN Podcast. Got the gang with us today. Let's get into these quick introductions. Got Raz with me. Raz, what up, bro?
What's going on, man? Draft season back again. Another good episode. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm on the move, y'all. So forgive me.
Like I said, if you are watching us on the Periscope live stream or checking us out on the podcast, thank you for hanging out with us today. Also got my man Matt come to you live from Wisconsin. Matt, what's up, bro?
Yo, what's going on, fellas? Excited to talk some baseball today, and yeah, it's all good in the hood, man.
Got you. And we also have to introduce the voice of my man Klew. Klew, what up? Say what up to everybody.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, fellas?
Got you, man. So yeah, we have a very, very special episode for you guys. Our first guest, actually. So shout out to Alex. You give him a round of applause. Thank you, Alex, once again for hopping on with us. Like I said, our guest today is Alex Fass, vice principal. I was about to say vice principal. Wow, that's crazy, bro. What a great start. The vice president at Officialist, a fellow Fantasy Sports Writers Associate member like myself, and he's the co-host of the On the Corner podcast and the host of the weekend edition of the First Pitch on the Pitcherless Network. Alex, welcome, man. Thank you for hopping on today.
Thank you. I'm glad that I got that round of applause, and I'm glad that Raz did not do it. Because if you started clapping, I'd be like, all right, we got problems. You better pull over.
that really might have got pulled over. But yeah, man. Like I said, Alex, thank you so much for hopping on today. We got linked up together through a great initiative that Pitcherless is doing. So Alex, could you tell us a little bit about the mentorship program that you guys set up and how we kind of ended up here today?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, like, me and a bunch of other people in the industry, we kind of all got together back in like March and April, and we realized that like there's a problem in this industry and that there's not a lot of representation, right? It's just all like a bunch of straight white dudes, and that's kind of problematic, right? Because I know that people all over are interested in fantasy sports, and sometimes they're not given the outlets that they need, right? They're not given the support that they need. They're not given mentorships. They're not given a space where they can ask questions and have questions answered. They're not given platforms where they can make their opinions about fantasy sports heard writ large. And I realize that, we can all sit back and be like, oh man, that sucks. Or we can actually like be active about it. You know what I mean? Like see how we can encourage people to do it. 'Cause it's one way to sit back and be like, man, that sucks. It sucks that it's all white people involved, but like, hey, no one's stopping anyone from getting involved. Like that's passive. You know what I mean? And I wanted to do something that was a bit more active, right? Like get out there and say like, all right, well then how can we recruit? How can we get people into this industry that we all love so much, you know what I mean? That we all enjoy talking about. Like, how can we let people know that these opportunities are there for them and that this is a space for them? You know what I mean? And that's for all races and all genders. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people I know that like 3 or 4 years ago, the conversation that I had with my friends inside of a group text was not something I was showing my wife. You know what I mean? And then people are like, well, how come women don't like fantasy sports? You know what I mean? Like, how come they don't want to join? It's like, well, listen to how you're talking about it. You know what I mean? So what we wanted to do is try and find a place that we could like, what could we do? Like, what are the changes that we could do? What are the language changes that we could do? And how could we make this a place that everyone can do this? So, we're still working on it. We got about like 75 to 80 people in the mentorship program right now. And that's great. I mean, we're doing our best. But yeah, it's been a cool journey so far.
Yeah, man. It's pretty awesome. And like you said, getting the chance to interact with a lot of people in the industry, it's not that like it's not inclusive. People are pretty open, and like you said, these interactions you get with a lot of people, it's not that they're trying to keep people out, but especially like what I've noticed, a lot of times it's not catered to people like us and other things. And that's kind of the problem, as some people need to hear things with a different type of language and rhetoric,
Yes. Well, that's the thing. It's like you said, it's about representation, right? So we can say, oh, it's inclusive, but like there needs like it becomes a bubble. And we don't realize that it becomes a bubble. And we're like, oh, well, we'll take anyone. But like you want to hear a voice that you're familiar with. You want to hear a voice and a way of thinking that you can connect with. And the only way to do that is by making that space as open as possible and getting as many people in there as possible that don't look like me.
I think that's the funny part, because we're all connected by the same thing. We all love baseball. We all love sports. Fantasy is great in general. and especially everybody. The whole concept of it's the whole barbershop theory. Everybody feel like they know more than what actually know in real life. So it's just like that's why I love fantasy, because it's like this is your chance to put everything to the test against other people that you actually like, who are actually like insiders and know like what's going on in the actual sport. That's the great part about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally feel like an idiot every day. So I don't know what you're talking about, because every day I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now.
My disclaimer on everything is I feel like I'm wrong just to begin with, but I feel that's a great thing with the fantasy industry, because if people tell you they know what the hell's about to happen next, they're probably like just shooting you off a little bit and just being disingenuous.
100%. And that's the one good thing about the industry is like, I feel like those people get weeded out. And the people who are a little bit more popular are the ones who like, I don't know, man, I'll figure it out with you. Like, a lot of people have been asking me like start or sit questions, and I'm just like, yeah, man, I can give you my advice, but if it comes back wrong, please don't go. Yes, 100%. Some dude said to me like, is Garrett Cole starting on Sunday? Because if he's not, I'm going to drop him. And I was like, don't put that on me. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't own the Yankees. Like, I don't know what you want.
You are at the end of the day, you're only responsible when you press submit. Like I'm not. That was your choice.
Yes.
So I think another great question, just to get a little bit more into your background, and just to learn a little bit more into you. So, like I said, we're all baseball fanatics here. So, how long have you been playing fantasy baseball, and what are like your earliest memories in the era that got you hooked on? I guess this drug that we're addicted to.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, like, I haven't been playing fantasy for that long, to be honest. Like, I've only been playing for like maybe like I think since like 2012. So I guess like 8 years. I was doing like this. I was doing acting for a really long time, and while I was always like a big baseball fan, fantasy just didn't appeal to me. And then once I found it, I like absolutely fell in love with it. But I remember like one of the first memories that I ever have was, I think it was the ALDS, and it was the Orioles versus the Indians. It was, I think, 1997. It was the ALCS, and it was the only time in my life. So 1997, so I was like 9 years old. It was the only time in my life I ever cried at sports, because the Orioles got their ass kicked by the Cleveland Indians. I remember that very well. But like, I remember, when you're a kid and you're growing up in Maryland, it's just all Cal Ripken all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you hear about. And so I had all of his like pennants all over my room and stuff like that. And then everything sucked for years. Like, I was watching like, after like, I was watching nobody. I was watching like the corpse of Sammy Sosa and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Albert Bell. Like, they were all getting signed to these 2-year contracts to play in Baltimore. Like, woof. Sammy Sosa played in Baltimore.
Yeah, no.
That's wild. Sorry, Matt, I cut you off. What were you gonna say, man?
I don't believe you.
2000 Orioles, Brian Roberts, Sidney Ponson.
Oh my God, Sidney Ponson.
Sidney Ponson, dude. And then he got like arrested drunk driving in Aruba. And that was like the best thing that happened in our season. Like, we were like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it was tough for a really, really long time. Yikes. But like, I definitely remember always having like, yeah, man, that's like what my childhood hero was after Cal Ripken, Brian Roberts. Like, for real, like that. Like, are you serious? Like, that's how bad it was for me.
Former Yankee great Brian Roberts.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I think he got messed up by concussions too. It sucks because he seems like a cool guy. Yeah, so that's kind of my history with the sport.
Yeah, no, that's definitely hilarious. I find it funny because as a Yankee fan, and I grew up in it, I feel spoiled as hell talking about it, especially like whenever I talk to other baseball fans, and you say, "Oh man, you're a Yankee fan," you always get that side eye, like, "Oh yeah, it must be great making the playoffs every year." But this is actually why this is the funny part. So I guess we'll get into this a little bit later. Like, I ended up adopting the Padres as my West Coast team.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that like has no success. So it's pretty crazy looking at like everything come full circle this year. Especially like, who's this AJ Preller guy who's like trading for everybody? I'm like, oh, you guys weren't there when I was reading Max Fried scouting reports and Malik Smith and all those guys. Like,
yeah.
Trey Turner. And I didn't sleep that night.
So how many you're a Yankee fan. What about the rest of you guys? I know we got one Mets.
I'm a Cardinals fan. Bart McGuire's first athlete.
Yeah, I'm a Yankees fan as well.
And Albert Pujols probably my favorite athlete ever. So I stuck with him.
Pujols, got you. So Kevin, you're a Yankees fan too?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
The thing that always cracked, like,
Jeter was my guy. That's who I grew up on.
Oh yeah, I mean it's tough not to respect the heck out of Jeter. I mean, like, listen, I went to early Yankee, like the old Yankee Stadium before, and like as much as I hate the Yankees, I always respected their fans, right? Because their fans are really passionate. But so this season, they were driving me up a wall. Like you guys would lose 2 games in a row, and he'd be like, "What is going on?" We need to change the lineup. We need to fire Boone. We need to cut Garrett Cole. Like, man. It was driving me crazy, man.
We could be a little crazy, especially last year. Kevin, you could talk about how bad Yankees fans are. If you follow Kevin on Twitter, KLU24, you probably see him arguing with a lot of like delusional Yankee fans, particularly like last year, the people who thought DJ LeMahieu was the MVP. Kevin, please vent a little, please, for us.
Yes, please.
Look, all the last year was like, oh, DJ LeMahieu's MVP. You know, he's on a winning team. Why are we giving our participation trophies to Mike Trout? Blah blah blah. It's like, all right, DJ was great. He wasn't even the best player on a winning team. Did Alex Bregman not exist? Like, did that just not happen? Did his whole season not happen? And we didn't even know they cheated at that point. So we can't even point to that. Like, ooh, they cheat. We can't even point to that. But it was all of last year was like, DJ LeMahieu got a first inning single against the Orioles to make it to lead off the game. Oh my God, that's why he's MVP. It's like, oh God, stop, please. Stop.
Exactly. I don't understand how you guys can handle it in terms of your blood pressure. Like, I don't get it.
That's Yankee fans,
I guess.
Yeah, I think
I don't know either, bro. That's why my blood pressure's high, man. That's why.
So I think one of my, because like I said, I'm a fan of you guys' work, especially you and Nick. You guys are what I would call like secret sources. I begrudgingly tell people about you guys' work. It's not something that I like as much. You guys do great work. It's not about you guys, but I feel like this is the greatest compliment I can give to any content creator. That is just like, I love having you guys work in my back pocket. Knowing that you guys are doing great work, and sometimes I'll tell people, but it's just like it helps me dominate my leagues. So if you want to get a lead on your friend on your league mates, basically, definitely check out the Pitcherless work. But can you tell us a little bit about? Because I think what you guys do best is exploring the context and nuance of the advanced analytics. You guys do a great job of talking about a lot of the great numbers, but you guys also do a great job talking about repertoires, pitch skill sets and everything. That's why you guys combine both of them. I feel like that's what you guys do best. So, and I know this is something that you spoke about in the past, but yeah, for our audience, because I do feel like since it's a new show, sometimes we gotta train them a little bit just to get their thinking in ways that this is the first take, guys. We do things a little different over here. We think about things a little more logistically. So yeah, finding that context and nuance within the numbers. Tell us a little bit how you guys do that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for those kind words. I mean, we do all this for nothing, so it really does. And I hear what you're saying too. Like when you find a restaurant that's really good, you don't want to tell anybody because then everyone's going to that restaurant, and you're like, this place sucks now. So I appreciate that. I think the thing is, like, a lot of people who study analytics get a really bad name because they think that that's the only thing, right? They think that like the game exists on paper and that's it. And we try and get away from that as much as possible. We don't want to deny the fact that there is an eye test that needs to be passed. There is feel. There is a mental aspect to the game that you're never going to be able to equate. And the thing about metrics, even something like WAR, it should always be taken with a grain of salt. I always talk about how like a baseball player is just like a huge puzzle, and there is no one big puzzle piece. Yes, there are corners, right? There are like the mainstay puzzle pieces. There's WAR, there's OBP, there's WRC plus, there's the mainstay ones, but you need to like figure out everything that's going on with them. You know what I mean? So you really need to break down each stat. And then I think that's where a lot of people get lost too, is like, we talked about this earlier on, but I feel stupid all the time. And I just kind of live permanently in that area because then it lets me ask questions. Like the biggest thing that we could do wrong, in my opinion, as a part of the fantasy community is get too like arrogant to the fact that we're not going to ask questions about what new statistics mean. Like the quicker we can be like, I don't really know what this means. Can you help explain it to me? The quicker you're going to be able to like pass it around. And that's why one of the things that we try and really like do really a lot at Pitcherlist is like, let's break things down in like a fun way. I mean, Sean, you said it at the beginning, we all love baseball. You know what I mean? Like we're all like all sabermetrics is allowing me to talk about why your favorite players suck. You know what I mean? I want to be able to perfectly nail why the player that you love really sucks. That's it.
Yeah, no, man, it's amazing. I think one other question. So it's just like when we talk about these numbers, and if you want to get into swinging strike percentage, which is one of you guys' best, one of the new numbers, one of the best numbers out there right now that you guys definitely help coin. But what are your favorite numbers to look at when we talk about precursors to a breakout? For like, if you just look for that next gem.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll speak to, I guess I can speak a little bit to both. When it comes to pitching, there's two metrics that we look at a lot. And Jason Collette, who's a fantastic writer, who's been very helpful with us over the course of our career. Yeah. He talks about like looking at swinging strike rate compared to K rate, right? And you want there to be a sort of 2-to-1 ratio. So if you see a dude who's got like a 10 swinging strike rate, a 10% swinging strike rate, but he's got like a 28% K rate, all indications are that he's probably not going to strike out as many guys the next year. But if you do see that 2-to-1 relationship, that's a good way to be like, okay, maybe there's something there. One of the things that I really like to do is like see also, imagine like each pitch the pitcher has is a dot on the map, right? So, if we talk about like Lance McCullers, he's a good example. He's really low on the map, right? He has a curveball, it's low. He's got a changeup, that's low. He's got a sinker, and it's pretty low, right? So if we just imagine all three of those points, hitters know where to look, right? They're like, all right, I'm going to look low. It's not that easy, of course, because that curveball's fantastic. The sinker's fantastic. But all of a sudden, when he says like, oh, I'm going to do a cutter, and it's going to be up, then you think to yourself like, oh, well, that's a totally new area that he can completely exploit, right? So that's why paying attention to when the guys have a new pitch is really important. And then from a hitter's perspective, I think it's not necessarily the most predictive thing, but see what the differences are between expected and regular numbers. What's the difference between expected batting average and batting average? What's going on, not necessarily with their average exit velocity, because that can be a little bit problematic, but their average exit velocity on just fly balls. Like what's going on there? What's going on with the kind of nitty gritty? And then just try and poke holes in it as best as you can. You know what I mean? Oh, is this a small sample? Did he only play like 10 games in July or something? Or, oh, is he playing a lot in cores? Or, oh, is this BABIP dependent? But yeah, I think a lot of those differences between expected and reality are good ways where you can find fantasy studs moving forward.
I think one of the most interesting things about that definitely is baseball is such a high variance sport. And this is the craziest thing about this season. And I guess I actually now is something I did want to ask you. How are you judging all of your teams this season, I guess? Because this fantasy baseball season, basically, if we ever wanted to know how a NFL, like the baseball fantasy season, like throw it in the NFL schedule, basically, it's basically this little 60-game sprint that we got this year. And it's using the precursors that we used to look at, or judge players by. It's hard to look at them through that same lens when it's only 60 games and we're used to the regular baseball schedule. So yeah, like how would you describe the variance in baseball? Because this is something that I think when we talk about other fantasy sports, particularly with basketball, and as basketball gets more of a 3-point shooting heavy game, the 3-point shot is a very high variance shot. So it's why when you see things like the Houston Rockets missing like 20 shots in the playoff game, that's why that happens. So, and I think baseball does a better job of explaining that when you get into stats like BABIP. But do you have any way to like explain that for like novices who might not understand? Like it really takes a long time for some of these stats to even out and to become like justifiable numbers that we can say we learned something from.
Yeah, 100%. And I wish anyone told, I'm sadly a Washington Wizards fan, and I wish anyone told them about that 3-point strategy or just anyone how to be a successful basketball team. They're just terrible. Although Rui's supposed to be pretty good, right? Isn't Rui like really good?
Rui's he's decent. He's decent. He got some
decent. I know. And Bradley Beal's still disrespected.
I mean, I'm a Knicks fan.
Oh, you're a Knicks fan?
Yeah, me too.
There you go.
Bradley Beal's great player in the league. I'm with you there.
All right.
Yeah, you disrespect.
He's the what?
Bradley Beal disrespect got crazy. Okay.
He is.
He's the most disrespected.
Most disrespected.
Underrated.
Both, honestly.
He's all right.
All right, I'll stick to what I know. I only know Wizards basketball, and that's obviously not much. That's all I know. All right, so when it comes to baseball, though, I think like You're right. This, like, if I'm judging by my fantasy teams, I'm throwing out everything that I did last year because they are terrible this year. But I think there's so much nuance and there's so much that we need to like really get specific, right? Patrick Corbin's a great example. Patrick Corbin didn't have his velocity this year, right? He was sitting like 88, 89 on that four-seamer, and then all of a sudden it's creeping up 91, 92. And that's what you want to see from him. So I'm throwing all of his stuff from this year out. He didn't have his velocity, and that's it. It makes sense, right? Now, another guy like John Means for the Orioles had velocity, started changing up his pitch mix a little bit. That, to me, those things can stay. You know what I mean? So you really, if you're talking about analyzing pitchers, those things are really important. I talked about this a little while ago on this Orioles broadcast, right? Like you said, there are metrics that take a really long time to stabilize. There's too much variance and we can't rely on them. The metrics that do become reliable really, really quick are how a pitch is moving, right? If a pitcher is throwing a fastball with a spin rate of 2,400, he's probably going to keep doing that for the course of the season. So you want to take a look at those things. Like if a dude jumped up his RPM by a lot, that's probably going to stay next year. And if he lost his velocity, I'm just going to say, oh, it's because he was injured. And that's probably the case. In terms of a hitter, I kind of feel the same way, right? Dudes who, this is not Christian Yelich. You know what I mean? Like this is not him. This is not Christian Yelich forever. He's going to bounce back next year. I think he's going to be fine. But then there are other guys who really did come alive. Like I know a dude we're going to talk about later in Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't think that's all sample size. There's enough in how he is making contact with the ball. Yeah, he's on fire, but there's enough in term and the way he's making contact with the ball, there's enough there for me to believe like, okay, this can keep happening.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the advantage I would say in fantasy, especially when we get into like knowing the prospect backgrounds, because knowing these guys' backgrounds is super important. The player you're seeing today might not necessarily be like it might just be, a lot of players are one adjustment away. It's something like with Vlad Jr. A lot of people say it, and we know the upside is tantalizing there. Mm-hmm. And you know, is it? We don't. What's the adjustment he needs to make? Is it his launch angle? We don't really know, but that goes for a lot of guys, which is why you have to kind of know whether that's a lot of prospect background, because there's a lot of gems to be unearthed, especially when you're breaking down minor league numbers.
Yes, 100%.
So I think one of the next questions that we want to get into is kind of or putting a bow on the abbreviated season. Like I said, I play in the Dynasty Guru Experts League this year with a lot of my fellow. They do a lot of great work at TDG. I kind of just feel like a novice there working, but a lot of great people there that I feel honored playing against. And I'm in a tight race for the league this year, but it's just like it's a part of me that's like I want to talk shit, but like I kind of like, it's only 60 games. I don't make myself look like a jerk too.
Yeah.
But it is that. So I guess I'm trying to kind of put in a cap on the season in terms of like guys who finished inside the top 30 hitters and pitchers. Who would you say performance in the 60 game stretch actually like surprised you and said, I didn't even in a 60 game sample, caveats aside, I'm still surprised they ended up so high on this list. Anybody jumps to mind?
I mean, well, Tatis for sure, but I know we're going to talk about him. So other guys, I mean, like Mike Yastrzemski was like absolutely fantastic for a really long time, and I thought that was pretty crazy to see. It didn't surprise me about dudes like Freddie Freeman. Didn't surprise me about dudes like Yu Darvish.
In there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Trey Turner is like the number 2 player by the ESPN Player Rater, and I don't know if I saw him being the number 2 player. I didn't, top 15 obviously, but like number 2, that's kind of crazy to me. I guess the other guy, Corbin Burns. I mean, this is a dude, a pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, right? This is a guy who was having a lot of command issues last year. All of a sudden, he starts throwing a cutter a lot more. He gets rid of the four-seamer. He starts bringing in the sinker. And the way that baseball's been playing, like, we don't want to do sinker ballers, right? They're a little bit lower in the zone. Guys are taking them out. Yes, exactly. So it's like, that's a surprise that he was like, I'm going to up this sinker usage to about 30%. And all of a sudden, he was in the Cy Young conversation. So he's probably one of the biggest surprises for me. And then how much Matthew Boyd sucked. I was so excited about Matthew Boyd, and then he just killed me.
Yeah, Klew was a fellow Marcus Stroman hater.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, man. No Dominic Smith love, man?
We'll get to Dom. We're going to get to Dom.
Yeah, he's coming up.
That's one of my guys. We're going to definitely go talk about Dom. But, yeah, no, I think another guy.
You mean the best first baseman on the Mets?
I would have said that last offseason as well, but I've been in the Dom like.
I mean, hopefully we get that DH popping, and
I think
but Pete can't hit shit right now either, so it doesn't really matter. So.
But that's the thing about. I was talking about the Mets earlier. If there was a team that's just all DHs, they'd be fired. Like, but you know what I mean? Because they have like 17 DHs right now. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
We're great at that. It's either you can't field and you can rake. Or you are our best fielder, but you couldn't hit it if I was throwing it. Yes. So that's it. Like, what's the Marcinick or whatever? Well, he's dead.
Jake Marisnick?
Yeah, he's dead now. He's on the IL, is it? But
yeah.
But you know, here we are, man.
I do like your way of saying it better, just instead of saying the IL being like, nah, they're dead now.
He's dead now.
I think another guy that was super surprising. It goes kind of with the Christian Yelich that you just mentioned. Jose Ramirez he's the number one player on, which is wild, especially when you think about what was it, his first half, 2019, that was super depressing and he didn't do anything. But if you just take his second half, and I guess you take fake half season this year, his last year basically has been elite again. So definitely Jose Ramirez, somebody who stuck out to me. One guy that I think another one of my favorites. I think I don't want to put this on him, but I don't think Nick was a fan of him coming into the season. Is definitely Max Fried. That's one of my. He was one of my guys that I have him everywhere. A bunch of keeper leagues. So yeah, that's one that I was definitely in there. So yeah, anybody else that you think in terms of like ADP during draft season? I'm playing a lot of NFBC draft and hold 50 round leagues, which is like a ridiculous format.
Yes.
In general, but I actually find it fun. But anybody who pops out in your mind that they were like staring at you during draft season and they were kind of just there waiting in the draft room and you wish you got more of them during the actual draft season?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of people were already on him. And because his price kept rising, I wasn't willing to meet the price, and I should have. And that's Kenta Maeda. I mean, like everyone knew he was going to crush when he went to Minnesota, and then he went to Minnesota, and he's just been crushing it. So I was really pissed that I didn't have any, like he wasn't rostered on any of my teams so far. Then there was this one guy who works for Pitcher List named Kyle Horton, who's awesome. He was like a former D3 hitter, and he was like, Corey Seager's back, man. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, no, Corey Seager is back. I'm telling you, he's going to be fantastic. And listen, I never liked listening to Kyle, and now I really got to start listening to Kyle, you know? Like
Corey Seager disrespect is one thing. Like, he's one of my favorite players. So, like, and I watched a lot of disrespect towards him. I'm like, he tore his Tommy John, man. Yeah. I've noticed a lot of those Tommy John guys, it takes them like a year to get back to normal.
John,
yeah, man, I love Corey.
John, I think their second series, it was against the Astros, and he was just hitting the shit out of the ball. Everything started. I texted you. I remember I was like, yeah, he's back in his zone.
Dude, 100%. You're right. In the beginning of the year, he was leading in like every offensive category, and all the underlying metrics were like, oh, he is walloping the ball right now. So that's cool to see. And you know what? I like seeing that, man. I like seeing guys who like everyone's like, they suck. It's awesome when they come back. Like, that's the beauty of baseball to me.
Alex, just to pick that one more guy.
Really is.
I cover the Brewers for my job. The Birds is a guy that in their 2018 run to the NLCS, like the stuff was real nasty. And you're like, all right, like this could be like a potential front end of the rotation guy.
Yeah.
And then awful last year, sent out to the minor leagues multiple times. And then at the beginning of this year, he was being used as like kind of like a lone reliever. I remember Brett Anderson had a start where he went like 3 innings, like wasn't really that good, like typical like Brett Anderson start. And then Corbett came in for 5 and dealt. And then the season he was in the rotation, like you said, the implementation of that cutter has taken him to that next level. And now we're seeing that potential that we saw in 2018 come to life.
Yeah, a lot of one home run this year, which like he had home run problems last year, and like I looked at it early, I'm like, wow.
I didn't even know that. I did not know that. That is crazy.
It's wild. It's pretty wild,
especially in that park, man. That's wild.
Yeah, I knew that yesterday. I found that out yesterday. That's insane.
That's crazy. I mean, especially with his velocity in that park, and he played in Wrigley too. Like that's crazy. I didn't know that.
I read that in a Fangraphs article, I think, and like I looked at it again yesterday. I'm like, still. So I think we can get to one of our main courses about what we're going to talk about today. So in our fellow group chat, we get to a lot of banter on all types of things, just discussions back and forth. Raz, that smirk.
I know. What was that smirk, dude?
But banter.
That's an understatement,
right.
man. banter is underselling.
That's what we call it, discussions.
Right,
And,
cool,
and
yeah.
sometimes they're
Discussions,
extended discussions where it's just like we might have had an argument months ago.
Yeah.
And we're gonna bring it back and get right to it. So I'm gonna set up the stage here. We have our two heavyweight fighters here. We got Matt Infield on the left. We got Klew on the right. The topic here was we were debating about Fernando Tatis Jr. against Juan Soto.
Oh,
now Juan Soto is ridiculous, and we need to talk about it because even everything he's accomplished to this point in his career has been absolutely ridiculous. It's hard. Nobody saw this coming. If you were on the Juan Soto train, like the season before, honestly, you got his call. Like you're a very smart man because nobody was really on that. A lot of people knew about Juan Soto, but he wasn't on. Nobody thought he was going to make this impact this quick. Kind of the same thing with Tatis. But yeah, so Klew is of the opinion that Soto is the generational hitter, which I believe he has proven. And Matt is arguing on the side against Tatis. This kind of fantasy versus real life here. But Klew, I will let you take it away and make your argument for the Juan Soto and give some background about where this discussion came from.
All right, so the discussion was Juan Soto versus Fernando Tatis from a future perspective. Like, if you're building a team, which one would you take? As far as my opinion of Soto at the current moment, I mean, obviously, let's make it perfectly clear. There's no wrong answer here. Like, both of them are awesome. There's no wrong answer here. But, like, I would take Soto simply because I know he's a generational hitter. Like, I know this. Like, he has proven it. And, and I don't think he has reached his ceiling yet either. And he is... Like, he's walking 17% of the time in his career so far, striking out 19% of the time. Like, his walk rate is up to 20 this year, even though part of that is the fact that they got garbage thing behind him. Let's be honest. But 20% walk rate this year. The BABIP seems repeatable. Like, the Tatis is great, but I question, like, is this how great he actually is? Or, I mean, hitting wise, the glove, we know Tatis got the better glove, but hitting wise, like, I feel like there's room for regression here. Not to the point where not a big drop off, but like, I question how real his current pace is.
You're basically saying he's like got some hobby bias in there.
So I take Soto. I take the known versus the quote unquote. All right,
Matt, hop in there with your argument, Matt.
A little bit. I mean, the 30% strikeout rate, yeah, a little bit.
Sorry, am I good? Kevin, do you have anything else?
Go ahead, man.
No. So, first of all, for the record, I have never once in that group chat stated that I think that Fernando Tatis Jr. is a better hitter than Juan Soto, because that is factually incorrect. And all point states that is factually incorrect. Juan Soto is a better hitter than Fernando Tatis Jr. However, my argument for Fernando Tatis Jr. is that I think that the gap between Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis Jr. as a hitter is smaller than the gap between Fernando Tatis Jr. and Juan Soto as both a runner and a defender at a premium position. And, listen, I understand, like, the thought process that you think there might be some room for regression and, you think that he might have gotten lucky. But that was the same argument after last season, was that there was going to be some room for regression and that he was really lucky. And he came out this year and he just ran shit from day one. And he's hit the ball hard from day one this year. So I think part of it is personal preference. Like, I get like the guarantee of a guy in Soto who's got an OPS of 1.1 right now with an on-base percentage near 500. Like, don't get me wrong. That's really, really tantalizing. It's crazy to talk about someone who's was he 21? So I like Kevin said, there's no wrong answer here. I like
he's insane
as the overall player and would prefer to build around him. But like I said, I can see the argument for Soto. But that's just where I'm at. I think the gap as a runner and a fielder is much bigger than the gap as a hitter.
Man, you guys were messing around. He came in there like an episode of Judge Judy. He was like, let the record show that is a. I did not say that in that group text.
That's media training. That's media.
That's all.
That's media training. That's all that is.
Yeah, I hear that.
Off record. But off record, what'd you say, Matt?
Huh?
I said off record. What did you say?
No, I just said I would Tatis over Soto for me for those reasons. That's it.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Alex, where do you stand on this in terms of like future value? Who would you, if you could choose either to have in a dynasty league where you can keep them forever, however long you want, who would you choose? Who would you put your money on?
Oh, and okay, let me clarify real quick. I believe this is not from a fantasy perspective, right? This is from like
I feel like it's both though. I don't know. I mean,
all right.
I'm thinking about it both sides.
But a fantasy perspective, you don't care about the glove then.
No,
yeah,
but,
so,
I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, Tatis has the running though, which kind of evens it out.
So yeah, that's the thing. In a fantasy perspective, I
Right.
think I would go with Tatis because he's gonna give you 2020 seasons. You know what I mean? That's such a rare thing. And there's gonna be a season or two where he's hitting like, 25 home runs, 30 home runs, maybe, and then stealing you like 20 bags. And that's fantastic to see. If I'm a GM right now, like I said, I'm happy to get either of those guys. You guys make that point very, very clear. I think if I'm thinking from a real dynasty perspective and I own the team, I'm probably leaning on Soto because A, speed goes first, and B, this is a guy who has never had a K rate over 20%, whereas Fernando Tatis is much more of a free swinger. He's a more dynamic player, but this is a guy who had a 30% K rate and has now had a 25% K rate. We've already seen some of that regression sneak in September where he's hitting 200 with like a 236 BABIP. So to see a guy who is that BABIP dependent is a little bit scary for me. He's explosive. He's fantastic. There's so many accolades that we could say about him. But at the end of the year, I'm going to want a guy who's going to give me like a 35 home run year almost every season over a full season and be able to make contact. We were fortunate enough to interview Jameson Taillon last year at spring training.
That's
Right?
my guy, man.
Dude, he's awesome. And he's cool. He's cool as hell. Like he just wants to drink coffee and talk about pitching. Like that's what he likes to do. But he told us a story about like throwing ones. Do you really have a bobblehead?
Obi-Wan Taillon, yeah.
That is amazing. He told this story about how like that Soto came into the box and he had a 1-2, and he was like, I'm gonna throw this curveball 1-2 to Juan Soto, and I know he's gonna swing and miss at it. And he just stuck his bat out and took it to left field for a single. He was like, I'd never seen anything like that before. So may the force be with Taillon, man. I'm all about it. That's awesome.
So I guess I would follow up with that just real quick. You said Tatis maybe gets you 30 home runs. Do you see a cap on his power? Because like if you just look at the raw numbers, last season 84 games, he hit 22, which is obviously well on a 30-plus home run pace, getting towards 40. And this year he has 15 and 55 games, which again is getting you well towards that pace. So is there anything you see in the underlying numbers that suggests that maybe his power ceiling is not what those bare numbers would suggest?
No, you are correct. I am wrong. I understate that. You're right. He should be a 30 power guy if we can get a full season out of him. I think his aggressiveness and the way that he plays the game all out every single game leads me to believe that he's never going to be an 150 game kind of guy. You know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing. I love dudes who just kind of play like balls to the wall all the time. It's dynamic, and I think it's what the sport needs. But yeah, I you're right. I misspoke. That is too low of a floor for him power wise over a full season. That's it.
Okay, look.
I don't know. Anybody have any final arguments on that, or we can move on? Because I'm kind of in the middle.
To me, Juan Soto is present day Miguel Cabrera. I'm not passing up on that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Nah, I think the wild thing about Soto is like.
Yeah, I believe it truly.
Sorry, I think Kevin's a little bit behind, so I keep cutting him off. I apologize, but
I
think that. Yeah, Kevin, I said that not.
Kevin, are you using dial-up? Like, what's going on over there?
Man. I just wanted to say, I think that's wild.
No,
how elite both of them have played over the last maybe calendar year. Because when I was having Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, we were having a discussion last year. I think that a guy like Ronald Acuna was in that discussion with Soto and Tatis, and it's no knock on Acuna, but like. I think that now, last year I was having that debate with myself. Damn, do I take Acuna or would I rather have Tatis? Would I rather have Soto? And again, it's no knock on Acuna, but like Tatis and Soto have just kind of leveled up onto a tier amongst themselves as far as future potential.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I think we got Klew back, but I think we can move on to the next, just like general topic, because I think one of the worst things that baseball does in general is they do a terrible job of marketing their stars from the game. And as we're on the Tatis subject, I mean, I don't know your actual opinions on it, but I would guess you're probably on the side of us in terms of the whole Tatis swinging, the grand slam at the end of the game, right?
100. I want to see it every day. Like we want to be more like the KBO. Those dudes bat flip doubles, and I am all about it. You know what I mean? Like it also just shows you how impossible it is to hit a baseball. If I took an at bat and I'm facing the worst pitcher in Major League Baseball and I make contact and it rolls foul, I'm flipping the bat right at him. I don't care. So you want a bat flip? That's totally fine with me. I think it's what the sport needs. And listen, I did not have this opinion 10 years ago. When I saw the Jose Bautista bat flip in the playoffs, I didn't like it. And I was wrong. You know what I mean?
I was hyped the fuck up, man.
Yeah, I do. And in my mind, I was like, I don't know. Like, what about respect for the game? And I was wrong. That was a dumb, stupid opinion. And I think people need to get on board with and like normalize changing your mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to change your mind because it's the best thing for the sport. It's what makes SportsCenter and what puts the sport back on top.
I remember
Go ahead, man.
But I'll never forget that. I was delivering pizza that day, and I was like driving, like following like the game on Twitter or whatever. And I just got done with the delivery, and I saw the video on Twitter. I was like glancing. I saw the backflip. I was like, nah, I got to pull the fuck over.
What pizza company?
West Shore Pizza. They're out of business now, but the pizza was all right.
Wow. Yeah, because you didn't deliver that pizza. It's because you pulled over.
They got dark.
But
yeah, Reg, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about just in terms of like you said, the marketability, not marketing the stars and things like that. I just remember myself as a kid growing up to trying to play baseball. And the reason I got put there is I saw Griffey with the hat backwards, and we know how much shit he took for wearing his hat backwards. You know, like Griffey was a fly guy on the field. Everybody wanted to be like Griffey. And then you even had, you know, people like with the Barry Bonds with the hoop with the one earring hanging down, looking like but they would, you know, but we was always told that wasn't the way baseball was supposed to be played. And look at us now, nobody plays baseball.
Yes.
So
I couldn't agree more. And then to use the NBA as an example, the NBA is brilliant. The NBA is brilliant. And the fact that they took the entrance and the exit from the arena and turned it into a fashion show and made dude, that is marketing genius because I see personality. Yeah. I see like cool clothing that maybe I want to go ahead and buy, even though I'd look like an idiot if I wore it. But like I see things and I learn about these guys and I want to follow them more. And I also see interactivity. Like KD responds to a lot of people on Instagram. Sometimes he shouldn't say the shit that he says, but he still responds to people on Instagram, and that gets you excited. You know what I mean? That like you want to be able to go in your social media channels and be like, oh, I could like right now, if I try and reach out to Mike Trout, he's going to be like, fly, Eagles, fly. And I'm like, you're the best player in baseball. Like you got to say something better than fly, Eagles, fly, man. Like I want to be able to have that, the notion that maybe one day I can talk to these guys and get to know who they are as people.
You see, and I think that's just to further expound what I'm talking about. Yeah, like there's a lot of fun guys in baseball. Like they just don't do a great job of marketing, especially now. These guys don't get on the front page advertisement, but even when I think about like a lot of the black stars who might not get it, we talked about Dom Smith. Dom Smith's a badass. That guy swings a nasty bat. You got guys like Amir Garrett. St. John's finest, fellow alumni. That's my guy. Badass. Like one of the meanest sliders in baseball.
Tim Anderson.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, 100%. Even like Kyle Lewis, too. The way he plays, that catch that he made in center field, like that's what the whole
Mariners. I said the whole Mariners, honestly. Honestly, Justin Dunn's from Freeport. That's really pretty close to like where we grew up. Like I've been rooting for him all year. He's been pretty decent considering like he was free this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they've got a really good system over there to keep him in. But to stay with that example of Amir Garrett, like he says, like when I pitch, I'm not Amir Garrett, I'm AG. And like I eat that shit up. Like I love that. Those gifs that Pitching Ninja puts out where he like you see that gif a couple days ago where he says I'm a bad motherfucker and then throws a pitch. I was like gonna flip my coffee table. I was like ready to go, dude. That was awesome.
Oh man, yeah, baseball is fun. Like let the guys have some fun and let them show their personalities. Like even like if this is supposed to be an inclusive and like even like it pisses me off. The NFL did it too, and like we're supposed to put the meaningless BLM on the pitcher's mound. Like I don't know, like we don't like that's one thing. Like and that's why we can appreciate you because like if we're supposed to make this a space for everybody, like nobody wants like the white like savior. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking for equality. Like, we're asking for like just to let these guys be themselves. But yeah, just in terms of like who else comes to mind when we think about like the most exciting like young players around the league that you feel like if a casual guy doesn't know about it, like go follow this guy, watch his highlights, follow his story. It's a great story. Just exciting young players around the league just to help like grow the exposure of these guys. They give you some help doing that, you know?
Yeah, I think Matt kind of hit the nail on the head. A dude like Tim Anderson, he is a dude that we want to lead the kind of front here, right? I mean, like he's a guy that engages with you on Twitter. Like if you say something fantastic about him, he always has that like muscle emoji that he responds with. Like that gets people like amped to know that he's connecting with them. The way that he plays the game, it's fun, it's exciting, and he plays all out every single day. And he has a skill set that shows you how impressive he is. Like making contact with the ball is arguably the hardest thing that you can do. Sure, everyone can hit a home run, but the dude who's like potentially going to be a back-to-back batting champion, like he's got the skill set to back it up. It's not going anywhere. He's a really like fun, exciting, explosive dude. Same thing with a dude like Tristan McKenzie. You know what I mean? Like watching Tristan McKenzie in that debut, like everyone wanted to talk about like Casey Nyes, like Tariq Skubal, Dane Dunning, like all these dudes had like pretty okay debuts. Then Tristan McKenzie comes and he like blows dudes away. Like I don't care that he weighs like 60 pounds soaking wet. Like that's totally fine. Like he's fun to watch. So yeah, those dudes are like people who jump out to me. I mean, like there's also dudes like, I mean, I like there's I could talk about Trevor Bauer for a long time, but like
I'm a fan. I love Bauer. I know
he like I don't even know how to say how I feel about him, good or bad, but I respect the fact that like one day he hosted a marketing seminar for the young players. Yeah. You know, and he was like, "Hey, this is how you market yourself," and like that's big. Like that's what we need. I think that's good.
Well, I think to me, what I'm going to remember before the postseason, you know, because obviously a lot of wild moments could happen in October that are going to stick out as the most memorable things of 2020. But to me, what I'll always remember this baseball season as beyond the labor dispute and all the bullshit that happened and the short season, COVID, whatnot, is that this was the year when those young, exciting teams with those prospect cores that we had talked about forever finally broke out. The White Sox, the Padres, teams like that. And like to me, like those are groups. Like obviously, like there are individual players that comprise them, like Tatis, like Tim Anderson, that make them exciting. But to me, those are groups of players and teams that are going to appeal to the casual baseball fan and are going to draw more people into the sport. And so I hope both of those teams make deep playoff runs because they're exciting as hell. They have awesome personalities. They have great young talent. They're going to be here for a while. So I think that's what I'll remember this baseball season for more than anything else, to be honest.
Yes.
No, definitely for sure, man. And like I said, how do you feel about the expanded playoffs going forward, Alex?
Man, you know what? It's a chaotic year. Just lean into the chaos, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would necessarily support it happening for the you know, forever, but like, if it makes more people pay attention to some really exciting young starters on the Miami Marlins, cool. Like if people now maybe know who Pablo Lopez is, even if the Marlins get swept in the first round of the playoffs, if they see Sandy Alcantara pitch, let's say they play let's say they play the Dodgers in the first round. A majority of Dodgers fans probably like people who don't watch baseball a lot don't know who Sandy Alcantara is. They don't know who Pablo Lopez is. You know, they might not know who Jesus Aguilar is or Monte Harris or Jazz Chisholm. Like if
Lewis Brinson.
Yeah, exactly. Lewis Brinson. I don't think even Lewis Brinson wants to know himself anymore. Considering
I share a birthday with him. I wish I don't have it with me. I actually have a signed Lewis Brinson badge.
Do you really?
As a Cardinals fan, it will make me.
That's the second most random piece of memorabilia I mentioned on the show.
Yeah, I love it though. I can't wait to see what you pop out in like the third hour. You know what I mean? I got this Sidney Ponson signed jersey right here. Yeah, so I think
and like the needle Rafael Palmeiro injected himself. I'm kidding.
I love that. That's a positive of the playoffs, I think, for me. More exposure to those teams.
Oh, yeah, man. But once again, Alex, thank you, man. I feel like it's been a great episode. We'll get you out of here in a short, quick moment. But I think we touched on a lot, but I think we could take it on a lighter note for the entire room going forward. The questions I was just thinking, like, if you were a Major League Baseball player for your first at bat, what would your walk up music be? And what's like, we could all pick. I got a Dodgers hat on, but like just in terms of like the best like fitted caps, the best baseball hats out of like every team. So, Brad, we can start with you. What would your walk up music be? And what do you think is the GOAT like fitted hat? And we're not gonna say Yankees. I think it's obviously whatever.
Man, that's what would my walk up song be? It would it might be it's gonna be off of Get Rich or Die Trying. Like I feel like that's just a reasonable place to start. And I think it would
we need some gunshots before at bat.
Yeah, I might go with What Up Gangster as my I need the lyrics played too from the beginning.
Matt, what are you going with?
So my softball team, we actually had one of the dudes in the fraternity was a DJ. So he would come out to our games and play walk-up music for us before our fucking at-bats at I Am Softball. So I chose my walk-up song for that was Hypnotized. Because that beat drop, that shit made me go crazy. Other than that, I'm Empire State of Mind, though, especially when I'm playing for a New York team.
All right.
I think that's corny, bro. I'm not
gonna. That's pretty bad.
That's me.
This is not a Disney. This is not a Disney podcast, brother.
It's just funny because Yankee Bench session. I said the 09, obviously last year we ever had any success. Boo-hoo.
Oh my God!
If you're
I feel so bad for us. I feel so bad. Like if we lose it, I feel so bad for us. But no, when that song came out, by like the second round,
long 10 years, man.
I despised that song so badly.
Oh, that's right. They the remix. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was horrible. Kev, what would you pick, bro?
It was so bad. Dipset Anthem for me, easily.
That's a great answer.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. You see, Matt.
Alex, what you pick, man? Alex.
I love this question because I have the same answer each time. Every one of you guys talk about walk-up music like the song that gets you amped for your at-bat. I want the thing that makes the pitcher stop and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this? So there's a song from Silence of the Lambs when the serial killer Buffalo Bill tucks his penis and he's dancing around with a scarf, and it's called Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. I want that song playing because I want.
See, you took it to another level. I wasn't even ready for that.
Like you gotta get the reference too, though, right? Like,
you do, but someone's like the song is like haunting and weird. You know what I mean? Like the song. You're right. Like some 18-year-old kid from Kansas isn't going to be like, "Is this Q Lazarus from the 1994 hit film Silence of the Lambs?" I don't know, but like anything like that, like what was that dude that like terrible rapper on YouTube?
Which one?
Oh God, something fish, something fish.
Ice JJ Fish.
Ice JJ Fish.
Yeah,
yes,
that's good.
Yes, I wanted to get like some Ice JJ Fish on there, like something that's like gonna make people be like, "What is happening right now?"
50 Tyson.
No, any one of the those like internet meme songs. I think I would pick "Return to the Mac." Just like I think like one of the greatest songs ever, obviously.
Yeah.
But all right, Raz, I think we'll go back round robin to you. What do you think is the GOAT fitted cap or just like hat in general? Baseball.
Okay. That's a good question.
Some might say cap. I don't know.
I got three, unfortunately.
All right.
It's just because obviously Mets. I'm gonna wear the Mets hat. That's the Burrow. That's the hood. We don't even count that one. But
Rushmore
hats. It is. It's on there for a fact. But the hat I've done the most work with, perusing the streets. Probably the old Florida Marlins hat.
Oh yes,
that's a great hat.
Yes, the turquoise.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Classic.
Then that Arizona Diamondback hat.
That's literally my answer. The purple and turquoise.
Yes,
that's literally my answer.
If there's two hats that I won't wear because will trigger me, it's the Red Sox hat and it's the Diamondback. Those are the only two I will not.
That hat is awesome.
It is.
And then the last hat, it was just so simple. And because for a while they didn't make black and white Mets hats. Now they do, obviously, and like they make the navy blue and white Mets hats. I brought one of those in the crib, and my pop was like, "What the is that a Yankee hat?" Like he almost kicked me out. But But where we're at now, the White Sox hat, the old black and white, just the black hat with the white logo. That was like my black and white hat because I would never wear a Yankee hat.
Yeah.
Matt, what's on your hat, Mount Rushmore?
Number one, late 90s, early 2000s, Toronto Blue Jays, red brim, blue hat with the Blue Jay on the maple leaf. That's probably my favorite one ever. I've got that somewhere else. It's somewhere in my house back home. So that's number one for me. Other ones that come to mind, I'm just looking at a list of teams right here. The Rockies had a really cool. I think I don't think they were
on my list. Yeah.
Rockies, the all purple ones were really, really sick. I like that hat a lot too. Right there. I think you guys hit on a couple of good ones too. I think those are two I'm going to throw out there.
Klew, how about you, bro?
Give me the Royals black hat, blue brim. The Reds black hat, red brim.
Yeah, I'm gonna take all of my answers by the time it's about time.
The red hat is real big in gang coaches. That is a hat. That is a hat of terror, bro. You see?
And the Pirates one.
Yeah.
From way back. Just the black with the regular yellow logo. I like that one.
I know you mentioned the Diamondback, but what else is on your hat, Mount Rushmore?
The Diamondbacks one for sure. The straight up old Oriole one with the Oriole bird, I think is fantastic. The black hat with the orange Oriole bird, I think is fantastic. I think the other two that come to mind are the old Brooklyn Dodgers. That's the blue with just the white B on there. I think is absolutely fantastic. And then the Expos. I think the Expos made some awesome hats, man.
The blue hat, the all blue hat with the it's like the red
yes.
on the logo. Yeah, that had that's a staple.
Sure did. Yes.
Some tells me Raz and I cannot go hat shopping because if we do, we're gonna be broke as fuck.
Yeah, go left.
Obviously you have the Yankee hat. That's goat status.
No.
Yeah, it's goat. Yo, come on. You can't deny it. That's a staple.
We got two
world.
haters in the room.
We'll never.
The Dodgers hat is definitely up there as well. Yo, I love the green and yellow A's hat. Is one of the most beautiful hats in the world. Yo, you really took my Reds answer away. I think yeah. Also, the Tigers is up there. In terms of hats. But yeah, man. I think this will wrap us up for today, man. Draft Season Podcast has been a great episode. Shout out to Alex Fast one time for hopping on the show. Let's give him a round of applause, guys. Shout out to Alex Fast. Shout out to him for lending some legitimacy to the podcast. And once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hop on.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking out some of my my writing in the past as well. And I definitely look forward to having you back on in the future and just keeping in contact. I don't know if you guys have any last comments or last questions for Alex, but you guys can let it fly.
Well, Alex, first of all, I don't think that if we're going to be having an Orioles fan on here, I think it's only right that we ask you, when are we going to see some Adley Rutschman action in Baltimore? Because I think that's what we're all looking forward to.
As soon as it becomes affordable for them to do so, probably, probably middle of next year, I would say. But for real, guys, thank you so much for having me.
Rodriguez as a podcast.
No, Grayson Rodriguez. That's
what did you think about it?
I don't know. I don't think he's a good podcast, but I think he's a really good pitcher. And they started talking about increasing that changeup for him, and I think that's really exciting. I mean, I think the things that they're doing with that young pitching staff are exciting, right? Like, I haven't been excited about young pitchers in a while because our team sucks. But like Dean Kramer, Keegan Aiken, Grayson Rodriguez, like even John Means, like I think we're finally starting to see some of this new organization, some of the Sig Mejdal and Mike Elliott stuff. I think we're finally starting to see it come to fruition a little bit, and like the game is changing. You know what I mean? Like. It's evolving all the time, and I'm excited to see how they're going to be a step ahead of the game moving forward.
Yeah, man. Follow him on Twitter at AlexFast8. Definitely subscribe, check out the podcast and everything. Draft Season Podcast. We out of here, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Alex, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a million.
Yeah, man. All right.